Well, welcome, responders, to another episode of Utility Emergency Response. Today I'll be interviewing Kevin Sofen, and he has a great solution. He delivers water to the public utilizing water bags. And this system is pretty unique, and it's used for emergency or disaster situations. Now, I met Kevin through a mutual customer, San Jose Water Company, and they actually tested this solution, which I think is great. And I hope this benefits our listeners today. Before we start, I want to apologize for those watching on YouTube. The video of the interview did not come out great because my internet was not working all that great that day. But fortunately, the audio came out fantastic, so that's great. So podcast listeners, you will be happy. The YouTube video people community, I'm not sure they're going to be too happy. But if you want to see how the equipment functions, I will show that on the YouTube. So if you are listening to the podcast, be sure to check that out to see how the equipment actually functions. Okay, I wanted to do a brief introduction to Kevin. Now, Kevin is the Director of Strategic Innovation in the New Technology Division at W.S. Darley and Company, overseeing product development, market strategy, and emergency technology. And during the last 10 years, Kevin successfully commercialized a range of products that include truck integrated water purification, packaged water in a box, which we're going to talk about today, virtual reality training, and autonomous drone solutions. And in 2017, he launched the smartfirefighting.com community, which highlights thought leadership around technology and innovation adoption in the fire service. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the interview. Okay, so today we have a new guest on the Utility Emergency Response podcast. His name is Kevin Sofen from Smart Firefighting. And Kevin and I got put on an email thread about distributing potable water via plastic bags in case of a disaster or an emergency. We're going to talk about this great solution that he has and how the San Jose Water Company did the exercise actually with Kevin. And so we're going to talk about how other utility companies can utilize this. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Isaac, it's a pleasure and honor to be here, and thanks for having me.
All right, so my first question for you, tell me how you got in the business and what you guys do over at Smart Firefighting.
For sure. So I'm actually a full-time employee of W.S. Darley and Company. Darley is a 115-year-old family-owned fourth generation company based in Chicago, Illinois, with manufacturing plants in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and Janesville, Iowa. So a strong Midwest presence. And I've been with the company now for 10 years and started off doing business development, marketing, sales for our emergency response water purification solutions. And then we've evolved our different water offerings from water purification to then packaged bag and box water to then empty water containers and water refill storage systems. And a lot of that came from me working in the market with first responders, with military officials, with water utilities, throwing a lot against the wall and seeing what stuck. And I hate to think about, hey, we have a product, we're looking for a customer or a problem. But a lot of it was talking with public safety and municipalities to figure out what type of water solution they actually needed. And from Smart Firefighting, that's just to give a little context so that makes sense, is it's a community that I helped started that was powered by Darley to raise awareness about innovation and technology within public safety. And so that's a lot of bringing in artificial intelligence, virtual reality, drones for firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs. And there's a lot of overlap with water before, during, and after disasters. So there's continuing to be kind of a lot of overlap with all of that. And I love working with those that serve the community, whether it's utilities or public safety officials, firefighters of the like. And been doing it for 10 years, and I have no intention of stopping anytime soon.
Okay, great. Wow. Sounds like you do a lot over there.
A little bit, and it's fun, and I just, like I said, I like to work with people that are helping others. It makes it fun to get out of bed every morning.
Okay, great. So now tell us, this is the part I need explanation as well. I know you have your smart firefighting. How does that water solution utilizing plastic bags to distribute to the public in an emergency, how does that fit into smart firefighting and into that whole gamut of what you do?
So Smart Firefighting, as I said, is a community that raises awareness and connects the dots about bringing technology into public safety. A lot of it is actually stuff with a chip in it, so tech and software and
Oh, okay.
subscription stuff. So on the Smart Firefighting side, it's still a smart response, smart preparedness. And so we've been doing some work, as you'd mentioned, the San Jose Water Company, these other utilities, about what are the better ways that we can prepare and respond to disasters with before they happen, to the first 72 hours until infrastructure is back online. And so I think all that impacts firefighters and law enforcement and EMT, as they are the ones that are dealing with oftentimes the emergency. They get the call and they need to go there right away. And oftentimes, when you think about what are the core needs that humans need, it's oxygen, it's a roof. These days it's Wi-Fi, but then it's really is water and food. And I know there's a lot of different standards and initiatives and challenges and organizations involved with providing safe drinking water throughout those events. So what I've done a lot too is fostering conversations between the U.S. Fire Administration to Department of Homeland Security to FEMA to the individual water utility operators to the San Jose water companies of the world. And I think just continuing to try and understand the problem, put everything on the table, and figure out what are the challenges and how can we take off the shelf tech and best practices and be better at the whole water response effort.
Okay, wow, that sounds like pretty amazing stuff. And you're right. We do need water, food primarily. And I just did a video yesterday, and I released it, I went through an EPA report, emergency response report that EPA did, and one of the biggest branches in disaster response is getting water to people. And one of them is to distribute, not just through pipes but also through like canisters, those big water trucks. And I don't think a lot of people know about the plastic bag solution. It doesn't seem like they do. When I talk to utilities, they're not really talking about plastic bags. They're more talking about like stuff like my equipment, like bypassing the compromised pipe system, taking advantage of what you already have. But I think this plastic bag solution, I don't think a lot of people know about. So tell us how the exercise went with San Jose Water Company. How'd that go?
For sure. And as I'd mentioned, we have three key solutions that we've implemented here and had some success with water utilities and disaster response. And the first is separate, and I'll just paint a picture of that. Is we have it's a solution called the Darley Safe Water Box, and think wine in the box, but water in the box, and it's a 10-liter bag and box of water. And we've had a lot of customers like that because it's easier to palletize. You have more water on the same footprint. It's moving the same amount of water as 1-liter jugs, plastic jugs, using 85% less plastic. And so there's a lot of, as well as the military likes it because they can drop it from planes and it has less breakage rate to bottle water. And then there's the shelf life of it. It's a minimum 3 years, and a lot
Oh,
of
wow.
advantages to pre-positioning this bag and box water. And that's produced at an FDA approved plant in Carrollton, Texas, from our co-packager down there. And that's water that is made at the plant, pre-positioned, and we currently keep 150 pallets of water in Dallas, Texas area. We've explored having water in other places, so for when the moments when there aren't water, that we can quickly respond in the first 72 hours to get water where it's needed and to those that are needed right away. The other is what we've done with San Jose is we found through conversation is that sometimes many people do have access to a potable water source or have access to water that just needs to be boiled maybe, or with some level of chlorine, but there's not really an effective system of getting that water from a tanker or a building and then putting it into some type of reusable container. So that's when we worked with Jim Wolbrink, who he's now since retired from the San Jose Water Company, to develop this solution where the idea is that it's a tower that is palletized and can be set up in under 5 minutes and connected to any safe water supply. So that could be a tanker or a building, municipal supply, and allow you to fill up these reusable bags and then provide water in these bags that you put into what they call the C-pod, community point of distribution, where there's sort of creating a mini assembly line in the field, putting into a box that then people drive by, take water, and leave. And that
I
was a
saw that. I
model.
saw that.
Yeah,
I saw
so
that. I thought it was really cool.
it
But
it
anyways, go ahead.
it worked, and it was cool to see how it unfolded. And then with the bags, one of the advantages is that we can put, I should have these exact numbers, but close to 5,000 of these 5-gallon bags on one pallet compared to where it's around 50, close maybe 50 rigid 5-gallon jugs. And so there's major space savings when it comes to these collapsible, rugged bags. And then the other big thing too is that it's reusable. And I know society often has this hate relationship with plastic, uh, but I think it's a matter of using the right plastics in the right way, and ideally really looking at reusability and not one-time plastics, but reusable plastics. So that's what we've done now in San Jose with this refill tower to these reusable bags, and we've had positive response. We've now continued to talk with a couple different water utilities about the same model. We have had some challenges with the certain health requirements, some of the public health departments saying one thing or EPA saying another about what standards need to be met or not met when you're filling up containers in the field and distributing them. So that's always kind of been a fine line that we're walking and working with customers on, because I know during disasters, a lot of times it's like, hey, we just need to get resources out there. Of course, we don't want to make anyone sick, and we're very worried and concerned about that. So we want to be clear on at least this model with the tower and the bags. We're not doing any water treatment. We are providing a means of rapidly refilling reusable containers in the field. And so working with utilities on how to do testing in the field, how to state the proper ways on how to use the bag and ways to clean the bag and reuse the bag. Those are all just things I'm dealing with right now at this moment, and still trying to figure it out, and very eager and trying to talk with other utilities and other public health related officials about what we should be thinking about to make sure that we're doing this right, but also not hindered on some regulation that maybe doesn't apply.
Wow. Well, that sounds like it's pretty extensive when it comes to the regulations.
Like with everything,
Yeah.
just regulations of stuff. But regulations are important. They can drive innovation, but at the same time, as fast as stuff changes, I think it's important that industry continues to push regulation bodies to keep thinking about ways that we're getting better, the ways that we're leveraging new tech. But of course, no, with water, is a very personal, emotional issue, in that talking about people consuming something and putting it in their body, and that's a big deal.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
because everything needs to be very, very tight and clear about everything. So yeah, that's part of what we're going through now, and now in conversations with more utilities about expanding the program to other locations.
And just to give our listeners kind of like some context about how the exercise, like how long did it take to make like a pallet of water on that conveyor belt that you guys had? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, for that exercise, I mean, the tower set up in between 5 and 10 minutes. The water supply was hooked up, and if you
Hmm.
see it, there's sort of this like little piece on the top
Yeah, I
where it
saw
just
that. Yeah.
clips right
Hmm.
into the bag. So
Hmm.
there's no like screw on, screw off. It's just sort of take a bag, fill it up. And I think when I was sort of counting two volunteers that, probably both between the age of 50 and 65, in a minute, both of them probably doing a bag every 10 to 15 seconds. So thinking one volunteer can do with this dual tap setup, could do about anywhere from, let's say, 4 bags a minute on the low end, maybe 4 to 5, and times two stations. So doing between 8 and 10 2.5-gallon bags per minute.
Oh,
And
wow.
so thinking of just starting to do that at scale, where they kind of do it, push it down the conveyor belt, someone took it and then put it into the C pod. So if you gear up for an hour, you think you could get almost 400 or 500 containers set up in an hour ready to
Wow.
distribute. And so that's part of the unique value prop of that quick speed and quick sort of model setup, and just kind of hoping to see, I guess I don't want to say hope. I want to continue to hear from public safety and utilities, Does that make sense? And does that kind of model work? Because right now it's not scaled around the country by any means yet. But we're starting to get more positive feedback and some more pilot programs in the works.
Okay, great, great. Yeah, it's if only Hurricane Katrina had that,
Yeah,
huh?
seriously.
All right, so how can well, you kind of said how can utilities, you kind of answered my question about how can utilities do the exercise. We went through that, but how can utilities contact you? What do they do?
The best is to email me directly because our websites are going through some revolutions, and this isn't best communicated on the website. I have it all kind of in on PDFs and links and emails, so that's a little shame on me. But the best is Kevin Sofen at Darley.com. That's Kevin S as in Sam, O F as in Frank, EN at Darley, DARLEY.com. I respond to my email immediately and happy to talk shop and share some ideas and best practices with anyone that's interested.
Okay, all right. All right, well, Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on my show, and I think you've got a great solution that I think it's going to help a lot of people. You can't even compare it to, delivering plastic bottles. It just seems like it on a scale wise, it's just so much better. So I think you got something great there.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you and everyone, all your listeners and community, and look forward to staying in touch and seeing what's next for you, Isaac.
Thanks, Kevin.